The Iron Roots Urban Farm was a very large blighted property, also in the Idora neighborhood on a highly trafficked corridor. It's about a 2-acre property, had a very large historic home, about 3,000 square foot on it. That was kind of one of the first things when you came from the west side of the city that's historically considered to be a stable place into the south side. You're driving down this corridor, and on your left, you see this big boarded up house that is kind of the billboard that says, welcome to the blighted south side of Youngstown. So when we were beginning work in the neighborhood, we knew that was a critical property to get control of. I personally didn't know exactly what it would be used for, just knew that something positive needed to be done with it. So about 3 years ago, we began trying to acquire it. And it was actually owned, this is kind of the funny part of the story, it was owned by a commercial farm in Hilo, Hawaii, like Waiiuka Farm Products LLC or something. So I began corresponding and going back and forth with the owner via email and phone. And then he kind of stopped corresponding. Then I found where his employer was and started calling there. Eventually I got it going again, and we were able to acquire it from him. Once we acquired it, we knew it was a great property, but we didn't know exactly what to do with it. And a lot of our other efforts, particularly in urban agriculture and vacant land reuse, were taking off. And one of the main things that we began to see is that there's a lot of energy related to vacant land reuse, but many of the residents in the city don't necessarily have the skills. I mean, they don't know how to acquire a lot. They want to grow food, but they don't know the specifics or the techniques of doing that. So we needed a place where we could train folks and build capacity to get more vacant land back online in the city. Youngstown has 23,000 vacant lots. Many of those lots had buildings on them before. So, while it's a great challenge, it's also a great opportunity for the city. So once we kind of made that decision, we began developing a business plan for the site. We worked with some graduate students from Carnegie Mellon to do a market study. We also brought in Mary Donnell, who's the CEO of Green City Growers in Cleveland. She helped us put together a business plan. And then we started just kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of raising funds and putting together a very detailed plan to get the property back up and running, and tried to make some incremental small steps along the way so we could attract attention. One of the first things we did was boarded the house that was on the property up, and painted the boards to look like doors and windows. They were done very well by a resident, but that really, just because it was so visible, attracted everyone's attention. And then we were very successful in beginning to raise funds, and now the property is such that we have a working farm on it. We fully renovated the 3,000 square foot house. We've moved all of our operations, so all of our offices are in the house. We're building a new building that'll be completed probably within the next 30 days, which will serve as a community kitchen, also the processing for the food that's grown at the facility. So basic things like washing the produce, bagging it up. And I don't really like to call it a farm. I call it our neighborhood revitalization campus. We have people doing all kinds of things there. I mean, learning how to board up houses, learning how to grow food, learning how to fix houses, there for home ownership classes. So it's a very dynamic place, and it's went from this huge sign of blight to this place where there's always people going in and out, and people driving down the street see it now, and it's a much more vibrant place than it was 4 or 5 years ago.